And welcome to the Junior Information Night. I want to thank you for coming in and taking time to gather the information. Really starting to get much closer to that process of what happens after New Prague High School. And our counselors tonight will share some very important information for you, help you start navigating through that process. All I want to share is as you continue your time with us, starting in December and January, you'll have a chance to take a look at registration for next year. And I would encourage you to take a look. We do offer a number of concurrent enrollment courses, a chance for students to take courses here at New Prague High School, earn the credit, the high school credit, and also earn college credit. And we are continuing to look at ways to increase that, the opportunities, and I do anticipate having some additional opportunities next year. One of the things they'll talk about tonight is the cost of college, which is not going down at all. But they'll also talk about avenues for taking care of. But that is also another way of taking some of that by walking out of New Prague High School with a number of college credits already accumulated. So I would encourage you, both as parents and students, when you start looking at that registration process, taking a look at what the opportunities are here. There obviously are opportunities for PSEO to attend a college somewhere else and take a full load there. There's always a debate on that of, I would have a debate about 17-year-olds hanging out with 20-year-olds and driving, and that's why we're trying to also offer you some more opportunities. So again, as you get ready for that registration process, I encourage you to take a look at those opportunities. And with that, I will turn it over to our counselors.
For anyone who doesn't know who just welcomed you, that's our principal, Mr. Seifert, the mystery presenter. I'm Angie Erickson. I'm one of the counselors here. And we have Mike Bartushik over on your right, another counselor, and Katie Lascalzo. And I'm not sure if Becky Valek, our career counselor, I think she's not in this one right now, but we have a new career counselor as well. So that's our staff for the guidance office. Just a quick reminder, we do fulfill three kind of roles in the counseling office. The personal, social, emotional, behavioral issues for students of any type, and the academic assistance, everything related to classes, all choices and manner of issues with classes. And then the third area, which is what we're focusing on tonight, includes post-high school planning, and that's what we'll stay focused on for tonight. I do want to mention that we're videotaping this evening's program, not because you're going to go home and rewatch it, but if you know of people that weren't able to make it tonight, please encourage them to log into our website next week, or go on the website and watch the program. We'll have it in its entirety. We think that it's great that you took time tonight to come. We certainly know how busy people's schedules are and how many activities you fit in, especially as parents of high school students. So thank you for coming tonight. We think it's a really great first step in the career planning. How many of you are a parent or guardian of the oldest? This is your oldest child. Could you raise your hands? Okay, quite a few of you. Super. And then out of everyone that's here, how many of you maybe came last year to our sophomore information night? Okay, great. So there'll be, I think, a lot of new information for you. That's terrific. We know that with the changes in the economy and certainly world developments, technology, pace of change, there are quite a few factors that could potentially make planning for your child's future and helping your child plan a fairly stressful endeavor. We hope tonight to take out some of that stress, and one of the ways we want to do that is provide you with factual information, timelines for planning, some guidance on what career exploration is and how to go about that process. And we hope that that will be reassuring and really provide some clarification for you, so that you don't feel like you're sort of on a hamster wheel, you know, trying to get somewhere with it. We feel that this will help you with that tonight. The other thing I just want to mention before we get going is when we say college, if we refer to colleges tonight, we really do mean all types of colleges. And so that could range from a 2-year community college degree or a technical degree, or even a shorter program, a 1 to 2 year, or even less than a year diploma or certification in a career area. And also, of course, refers to 4-year colleges, public and private. So we really are including every type of educational setting when we use the word college. The other thing to emphasize is that this is a time of exploration. And so as we do activities with students and as you work with your child at home, we want to encourage everyone to keep a really open mind. And you know from being the parent of a teenager that there might be an idea about something one day and then a different idea the next day, and that's very normal. The same thing will happen in the career exploration process. You might talk about a career area one evening at the dinner table, and then the next evening it could be different. And so that's very normal, and we work really hard to not try to put pressure on students here at school when we do activities. We try to not put pressure on to make students feel as if they have to land on a decision or make a terminal decision about something that that can't change. That really isn't the nature of it. So we want to encourage you to embrace that rather open-endedness of this time period for your child. And sort of, as it says in one of my exercise videos, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think that's funny. Did anyone else? Mrs. Holgate? Lead the laughter? Yeah, get comfortable being uncomfortable. So what we're really trying to help with is to help each student prepare for their taking the best next step that they can. And that means as a junior, November of your junior year, it is not March of your senior year. It's not April of your senior year. It's not even October of your senior year. It's November of your junior year. And with the timelines that we're going to show you, we want to help you feel confident that you're not behind. And we're talking to a lot of parents and students who insist that they're behind, or who insist that they don't know what they're doing. Many times a student will tell me, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And then they proceed to tell me what they're going to do, what they've thought about doing. But that uncertainty kind of goes with the territory. There's a high need for reassurance at this time that, yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe look into that, see what happens. But I try to tell the student, you really do have a lot of kind of solid ideas, whether you know it or not, so that encouragement is kind of continually needed. So we try to, by taking the best next step, you just have to prepare for what's coming next. And all of those steps will lead to the right place. The bottom line, the point about that is you don't have to get ahead of yourself. And I think it's always when we try to get ahead of ourselves that we get stressed out. So that's what we want to try to help you with tonight. We're going to start with, if you take out your yellow packet, you've got all of our contact information there on the front. And then we're gonna come back to those first couple pages, but if you could flip it over to junior year overview. Even though the packet doesn't go in this order, I'd rather start with kind of the big picture. And so what we want to show you on this page is really the timeline and really some of the activities that your child will be invited to participate in at the high school, and some of the appropriate activities and things to do during the junior year. The first thing you'll see is media studies. And this is the old, this class replaces the old business communication course that was a required English course. So if parents, a lot of you were the parents of, this is your oldest child, but if anyone had a student come through up until this year, they took business communications as a junior, and there was a lot of career exploration in that class. The new curriculum is the media studies class. It's required for all juniors, and they're all taking it this fall, which is perfect timing because we're going to be going in the classroom in a couple weeks for a couple weeks, and the counselors and the career counselor will be in there carrying out a whole bunch of career exploration activities. Students will be receiving the results of a very, very good career assessment inventory. They took 370 questions on an interest inventory that gets scored up at the University of Minnesota. It's very, very accurate and thorough and very well researched. And it's always exciting to see the students get those results back, because they many times they will validate that hunch that a student has. And that sort of is one of those ways to reassure the student, your hunch is right. You really, really are interested in this. It really shows up clearly on this survey. And that could be as broad as a career cluster area. It may be even as specific as a certain occupation. And any degree of specificity is appropriate. Again, it's all exploratory. They don't have to land on, the answer at this time. So they'll get their career inventory back, and then we'll give some presentations about careers that are out there, colleges, types of colleges, different admissions policies for those colleges. We'll use a couple of our web-based systems that we pay for so that you can have access to them. Naviance and MCIS, and those are kind of password protected. You have a username and a password, and we'll be getting those out to the students. I think you already have your Naviance passwords. And then students are going to research several careers and the education required for those careers, and doing a little bit of writing and a little bit of discussion in their classes about those potential occupations. So that's going to be sort of the main event as far as career exploration, and we're excited to help with that in a couple of weeks. The second point that you'll see listed there is financial aid, and all we really want to say about that is it says be aware that the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, is completed in January or February of the senior year. So there really isn't much to do in terms of securing financial aid during the junior year. And as it says there, most scholarships are available to seniors only. And then we mentioned you can learn about financial aid basics through that brochure that we had tonight. That was out there. And then you can check out our financial aid and scholarship links on our guidance office website. And since we're talking about the guidance office website, I do want to mention it is under construction, so it is definitely not in its final form. You may have noticed, of course, a new website for the district. And so it is not quite finished. There are quite a few things on there right now, but in a couple of weeks we'll have that finished up, and then there will be some announcements and resources ongoing throughout the year that we'll use that as a means of communicating. And then course registration, that's one of the next steps. That's one of the upcoming things that a junior will want to be prepared to do their best in and make the wisest decisions. And we'll be doing those activities in about January, and then probably registering in February after the semester changes. And we'll of course do that similarly to how we've done it in the past. We do some presentations to students, we share a curriculum guide, and we certainly invite you to be making individual appointments with us, phone calls with questions, students coming in, and really getting some help to select courses for that senior year that are in line with what you might want to do after high school. And again, that's just based on what you know at this time. And so we can definitely help with that. The other thing that's listed there as far as the overview for the junior year, college representative visits. Those are our college reps. Those are human beings that come to our school. They go up to our career center, and students can check into our office just to get a pass. Show that pass to your teacher. You go up and you meet with that representative. And that is a great way to visit colleges without going anywhere. So that is a terrific activity to do during your junior year. I do hear a lot of parents who feel stressed out, who think they're behind because they haven't set foot on a campus yet. I'm just going to tell you, you don't need to do that right now, November of your junior year. If you want to, you sure can. Maybe some people even visited a college last year, but you'll see on our timeline that's something that we will have some juniors do. But that sort of timeline for the appropriateness, or sort of the suggested time to do that, would be late spring of your junior year, and certainly the summer after your junior year, and the early fall of your senior year. So that, hopefully that timeline kind of helps you. You're not behind if you have not visited a campus. If you want to tell yourself that you're ahead because you have, that's fine. That's not a problem either. And another thing that I don't think is on the yellow packet that I want to mention is that I think we're going to be working on finding a good college fair to take the students to in the spring. We kind of feel that after that unit in the media studies class, and having given it some thought and registered for classes, spring of the junior year is a great time to go to a college fair. And the reason for that is that's a great way to visit a lot of colleges in one place. So you can receive the colleges right here at the high school. They're coming in as representatives all the time. We always have reps coming in to talk with students and answer individual questions, and then you can learn a lot more about the college. You know, far more than you can learn just off of the websites. Looking at the websites is fantastic also, but getting in to see the reps is going to be a great step this year. So we'll look for a college fair for you guys to go to. We'll hopefully be offering a bus for that, so that we can get you there. And then if you look below on the second half of that yellow sheet, we've got the junior year timeline. And on purpose, we put 3 very broad timelines, or parts of the timeline: fall, winter, and spring. And that's because it's pretty open-ended again. We don't want people to feel as if they're behind. We don't want to give the interpretation that this should be stressful, or you should be worried about missing something. You shouldn't be stressed out or worried about something. Well, we're all human, so you're going to be concerned, but you can have a little greater confidence if you understand what this timeline is. So fall, we talk about the PSAT. Now that's over and done with. And that was a preliminary SAT. If you didn't take it, that's okay. That one is over for the year. You're attending the junior information night, and we do encourage you to save the materials that you receive tonight. Not a whole lot else to do in the fall. Obviously, they're going to have the media studies class and those other things we mentioned up above. The winter, it says the ACT is required for 4-year colleges and is helpful for community and technical colleges. Ms. Lascalzo is going to talk about the ACT quite a bit in just a little bit, so I'll hold off on that. And then in winter, you register for your senior year courses with your career goals, rough ideas, and post-high school plans in mind. And that's kind of really the biggest next step that's going to happen is registering for those classes. And then in the spring, we hope that you will attend a college fair. And then that would be an appropriate time to start generating a list of possible careers and possible institutions that you could get education or training for those careers. So you can start kind of generating that list. And then it says sign up for formal tours of colleges over the summer. Use the campus visit checklist and the college comparison worksheet. We'll look at those in just a little bit to help refine your search. And then it does say take the ACT on April 28th. Again, Ms. Lascalzo will talk about that. And then we do want students to save the materials and stuff that they work on from the media studies class. You will have 2 accounts. You'll have an MCIS, computerized information system account, and you'll have a Naviance account. Those are 2 systems that we pay for you to use. And so there'll be a lot of sort of online portfolio information that you will also sort of save and have access to. And then it does say at the very end, it says prepare for the application process by staying organized. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit too. Let's just flip back then for a second to the circle map on that back of the first page. The circle map, you could do those 5 steps in any order. You could crisscross the circle. You could start over and do them all again. That is a continual fluid process. The 5 steps, you could break them down even more. And when I mentioned that career planning is sort of a vague process, I think it really helps to break that down into 2 things. Career planning is knowing yourself and knowing your options and just looking for a good fit. Who you are, what you enjoy, what your passion is, what you're super interested in, even what you're good at, getting to know yourself, and then what's out there. Occupations, there's nearly 20,000 different occupations. When we do our interest inventories, those are categorized into clusters that are very, very helpful. They go from very broad clusters to some specific basic interest areas, and then even down to specific occupations. So it's a way to organize all of that information. But in addition to options such as careers, you have to consider, okay, what types of colleges are out there? What type of education or training do I need for this specific career? How do I keep my kind of doors open, because I haven't landed on a final decision yet, so how can I keep my doors open for my options? And then you have to consider, how will I finance, how will I financially pay for any education or training? So there's quite a bit to think about, but it's those 2 broad areas. Know yourself, know your options, and look for a good fit between those things. The circle map here breaks it down a little bit more. It talks about knowing yourself, researching your options and evaluating your options, and then setting goals, which I think is sort of a continual process, and then making plans. The page, the rest of that page is really just kind of little messages for parents. It says, at the bottom it says it's from a guide for Minnesota parents from the Minnesota Department of Education, Minnesota State Colleges and Universities, and iSeek, which is a website. So we tried to put some little pointers in there for you. The top one I think is really, really great. Be persistent but not pushy. I won't read through all of these, but that's a really good one. And I think as parents of teenagers, you already know that applies in lots of situations. You want to look for those moments when your child is open and interested in wanting to discuss the future, and then you want to be open to what their ideas are and supportive of those ideas. A little further down it says be patient and be ready. And so you'll have opportune moments and some specific things that you can talk about when your child is ready. And there's no need to panic if they're not quite ready yet. And as you know, if you push and try to force that issue, that's when the stress starts to generate. That's when we can start to get ahead of ourselves and kind of panic and worry, and things can cycle from there. So try to help yourself and your child, and you can encourage each other to take the stress out of it, and it'll certainly be a lot more enjoyable. A couple of the other factors in there, it talks about realizing that not every career starts with a 4-year degree. That is certainly true. Coming up with Plan B. Career exploration is not a one-time decision. Help your teen to test drive different careers. And there are some different opportunities even right here at the high school to do that. And I think when and if your child, at the dinner table again talks about wanting to be an attorney, or wanting to be a dental hygienist, or wanting to be a teacher, whatever the case may be, it's important to support that and encourage your child and let your child know that you believe they can do that. It's okay to be realistic and talk about it, but if you start going from, oh my word, they said they want to be a teacher, they'll never be able to support themselves, it'll be, this, and this. If you start getting ahead of yourself, that'll be frustrating for your child. And so if you can support them, they're trying on different careers. They're very keen and in touch with what your real response is. And that's how young people learn their self-confidence. If the most important people in the world believe in them, they're going to start to believe in themselves. So I know it's not quite that simple, but you get the idea. You want to support that exploration. And then if we just flip over to the myths page. I think I'm going to keep going and just let you read this one when you bring it home. We can always come back to it if we run out of time. But let's just keep going from there. You can have your packet ready at the ACT page. We're not quite going to talk about that yet. And I'd like to ask you to please take out, there were two just white page handouts. One is stapled and one is just a two-sided. So if you could take out the one that says tidbits on top, we'll look at that first. By the way, Mrs. Lascalzo runs our Twitter account, and in a little bit she's going to really fire things up. She's going to take your picture so she can tweet it out to the world, and she's going to ask you to sign up for our Twitter account. That's the first thing that you see on the tidbits. And we do want you to sign up because we do want to start, trying to send out little bits of information to you. That's certainly not our only method to share information with you, but we do want you to kind of keep an eye out for future email blasts. And then the second bullet there is our guidance office website. I think I already said that, didn't I? That it's under construction. Did I say that to you guys? Yeah, okay. The third point there, these really are just random tidbits, but we feel they're very important. It talks about struggling with some concepts in school is not a bad thing, and many colleges are noting that students have not anticipated the amount of reading and research that they're going to need to do, even in their first year courses, and that's any type of college. The rates of remediation are quite high, and we want our students to be prepared for the first year. And so it talks about developing strong study skills while you're in high school, and when your classes are challenging, that's when you develop those necessary skills. And when the courses are easy and things just come to you and you hear it once and you can remember it and you don't have to study for tests and it goes really well, when those things are happening, you're not actually developing study skills. So I want to encourage students to not freak out, and that really does happen because if school has come easily to you, as soon as it starts to get difficult, that can be very alarming and very uncomfortable, very unsettling for students. So we want to kind of look at that as sort of a blessing in disguise. There's going to be some great benefits through those struggles, which is often the case in lots of areas of our life, I think. The next point says post-secondary institutions, and this is really important. They're having file completion issues. That means when an applicant applies to college, a college will start a file on that person, and they've got a whole bunch of different things that they need to receive from that student before their file is complete. So they're having file completion issues, they have told us, more than ever before. And admission counselors are having to follow up much more than in the past just to get the basics of the applications in. And students are busier and busier, and institutions are having trouble getting in touch with the student. Even though, and I think this is hilarious, even though we've got a gazillion new ways to communicate with technology, the communication is the worst than it's ever been for colleges getting in touch with students. And I'm telling you that so that you as a student can be prepared to not be one of those students who they can't get in touch with, they can't reach, you won't respond to an email, all those things. So we really, really want our students to be aware of that. The next bullet point sort of talks about what to do about that. Students are advised to get organized at the start of their college search process and read websites carefully. I would say that till I'm blue in the face. Some of our very best students will come in and we'll sit down and we'll look at a website and they couldn't find something. And I know that they think I am going as slow as a dinosaur, but inevitably I will read the screen, I will find the information, and the student will look kind of sheepish like, oh, I didn't read that. Because they're whizzing through the websites. Parents, you know what I mean. They're going up and down so fast. They're not taking the time to read it. Okay, and that's not unique just to our students. So you are You are also advised to become dinosaur-like in nature and start reading those websites carefully. That's going to help you in the long run. Check your email inbox. A lot of students don't use email very much anymore, but you're going to need to use it when you communicate with colleges and institutions. So you need to check your email inbox regularly and then read it slowly and carefully. And I think that's what technology has done to us. It's speeded us up. If we don't see it right away, we don't think it's there, it takes too long. Okay, and you're going to want to fight that and really take your time to get the information that you need. You want to respond, of course, to correspondence as soon as possible, and then ask for help. There's plenty of help available, so anything you need help with, be sure you seek out an adult. And then this is also an important tidbit. It says the next bullet point says, once the application process has begun, which is in the senior year, institutions want the student to call the admissions office versus the parent. And that's really important. When you start to own that process, you're going to feel more confident. It doesn't mean you can't have help or you can't have a parent. A lot of times in my office, we'll call a college and we'll do it together. And we'll put the rep on our admissions office on the speakerphone. And then we're both participating, and it helps that student to gain some confidence so that they can navigate that system. So as a parent, you'll want to, and that's, again, you guys know better than anyone how you have to resist the urge to sort of do everything for your child, and to step back and watch them struggle a little bit is hard. But that's obviously that's how we grow. So that's important in this process too. Another random thought here, you see some of the rankings of colleges that are out there, or parents sort of ask us from time to time, how can I find out the rankings? And it's a pretty strong statement here, but it's from the National Association of College Admissions Counselors. So I quoted them. They said, ranking colleges and universities is just as subjective as ranking movies and music. And as you know, our thoughts about movies and music is as different as every person in the room. So just because someone thinks a certain college is great doesn't mean the next person will at all. So it says, when using a college rankings guide, remember to ask yourself one simple question. Do these rankings reflect my own interests, or are they just another beauty contest? So, and that's sort of a strong statement, but you can kind of tell there's a whole lot of information you can base your evaluation of a college on that is far more valuable than just a rankings report that's out there. And then skip the part about sophomores, and then that last bullet is related to encouraging you to try to not rule out private non-profit schools, four-year schools, based on those scary costs. And the chart below does show the average scholarship for the first-time full-time undergraduate student. It's from a couple years ago, but if you look at that chart, if you go down to the non-profit, not-for-profit four-year colleges, the average scholarship is over $15,000, and this was a few years ago. And look at the percent of students that will receive that average scholarship amount, 93%. So I really want to encourage you. I know that the original sticker price is ridiculous. You know, if you see something $40,000 a year, well, as soon as you knock off $15,000, you know, and that's just in scholarship, that may not include grants or anything else or any other type of aid. You've already knocked that down to something much more on a par with a public institution. And there's lots of literature and a lot of facts about the percentage of families and first-time students and family income. We don't have the chart here tonight, but there's a great brochure about the family income of students attending private four-year schools. So if anyone's in that boat tonight, maybe, you know, keep them in the running until you have a financial aid package award in front of you and you can actually see what the bottom line cost will be. And obviously those are decisions that only you can make, but we just want to encourage you to kind of know the facts about that. Okay. And if you flip that over, some very kind of general guidelines on the top about preparing for post-high school education. and I'm not going to read through those. The bottom half, though, the part that says choosing a college, it says choosing a college is one of the toughest choices you'll make in high school. Each of these articles offers some great tips for choosing a college. And I'm pointing this out to you because what we used to have up until 2 years ago was a kind of a large newsprint type booklet like this, and it was from ACT, and it's called Get Set for College. And it has a ton of information. It was one of our sort of primary tools and resources for tonight because it really outlines the steps so nicely for what you need to do. And on this little on this sheet, the bottom part, each of those bulleted bold points says identify important factors in choosing a college, think about your reasons, list, compare, and visit, questions to ask on a campus visit, and make final decisions. It says below, it says the bold steps above are interactive on ACT's website. So you'll click on that bold spot, and then there's a lot more information for you. It's the same type of information from this booklet. We just want to make sure you know where to find it because we have nothing to, to hand you about that tonight. So we put in the website, and we probably can get a link to that on our website as well, but you've got the address there, so we want you to have that. The last thing I'm going to talk about before I turn it over is the stapled white packet. And this is from NACAC, is the National Association of College Admissions Counselors. And this talks about factors in the admission decision, and that is the decision that the colleges make. And I'd like to ask you to just turn it to the inside, and there's a big chart at the bottom, and that's what I really want you to see first. And what it's showing you is it says it's the percentage of colleges that attribute different levels of importance to factors in the admission decision. Once you get the hang of this chart, it's really interesting. So the first factor, what are your grades in college preparatory courses? As you look to the right, 75% of the colleges give that factor considerable importance. It's very important to 75% of them. What are your actual grades in college preparatory courses? And then to the right of that, moderate importance is given to over 15%. So you can tell that your grades in college prep courses are really important. Those are going to be one of the factors that most colleges consider. The next factor below that is the strength of the curriculum. Now that has to do with the rigor of your courses and how challenging they are. It does not make sense to take courses that are more challenging than you can handle. Colleges do not want you to do that. It also doesn't make sense to take numerous courses that you can handle, but you've got too many of them at one time. So the key is to keep balance in your life, take the most rigor that you can reasonably handle, and those are two of the very top aspects for colleges to consider. The third area of importance is the admission test scores like the ACT. And we pretty much focus on that one mostly because it's accepted everywhere. And that's the one that, again, Ms. Scalzo will talk about in a little bit. But even with that, you can tell that only a little over half give that considerable importance. And I'm pointing that out because we just don't want students to think that it's the only factor or it's critical, that those 4 hours on that one morning are going to lock your future into its fate. We really want to encourage students and families to not adopt those sort of hyper-stressed perspectives. So this chart is kind of helpful for that. And then it talks about next grades in all courses, how you do in general in school, and then you can follow that right on down the line for lots of different factors that certainly do weigh in. And then if you flip that over, I just want to make a couple more random points that I feel are pretty important. One of them is it's called page 5, and it's just the second paragraph down. It's just something to think about. It says a small number of colleges, 8%, reviewed the social networking profiles of prospective students. And about 5% of colleges took extra steps to verify that the applicant's essays are authentic. But I thought that was interesting about reviewing the social networking profiles, and that potentially could obviously increase. And then at the very bottom of page 5 on the left, it says recently colleges have been paying increased attention to a student's interest in attending. And that might seem kind of silly, like what are they talking about? And it says because most students apply to more than one college, admission officers look for indications of how interested an applicant is in that particular college. And what that means is that because because they know that students are maybe applying to 4 or 5 schools or 3 or 6 or whatever the case may be, just because you apply, they know it doesn't mean that their school is your top choice. And so colleges have to play a huge numbers game that I usually don't ever think about, and you probably don't either, but that is they have to try to offer admission to students that they really think will come. Because if they offer admission to the wrong percentage of students, ones that weren't actually interested, they've got a lot of scrambling to do to fill their classes, to fill their college with students that actually wanted to come. And so they want to know, are you really interested? Is there a high likelihood that if they offer you admission, you will come to their college? And so it says over on the right-hand side, it says effective ways a student can show interest in a college include campus visits, interviews, content of open-ended essays, that's maybe in an application, contact with the admissions office, letters of recommendation, and then it says early application, but I don't want you to get too excited or think that you have to do that. It says students should be aware that the quality of contact with an admission office is usually more important than the frequency of contact. And then students also should consider carefully before applying for early decision, as that is a binding agreement to attend a particular college if accepted. I mention that because I have heard more than ever this year than in the past 23 years, students doing early decision. And what it is it's a binding agreement. They make us sign off on the application to indicate that the student has been counseled and that they know early decision means if you're accepted at that college, you withdraw your applications to all other colleges. You will attend that college. There is usually the disclaimer that if your financial aid award does not allow you to attend that college, that's when you can get out of it. But you would already have withdrawn your applications to all other colleges, so you can tell that would put you in a bind because you're not going to get your financial aid award until, February, March. And so it's something to be really careful with, and I'm not sure why we're seeing more of it. I think it has to do with people feeling like they're behind a little bit. We do have some students, though, that do know exactly where they want to go, and for that student, it's a great option because they can get that all wrapped up. But it certainly should not be an expectation or a norm that most of our class would do early decision. So if you have some questions about that, be sure to ask them, find out more about that. And then on the back page, it just talks about sort of responsibilities of the student, rights and responsibilities of the student in the whole process, and the responsibilities and mandated practices that the college admissions offices have, because they follow ethical guidelines. There's certain sort of ways that they have to do things to be doing them right. It does say at the top, students have the right to be free from high-pressure sales tactics, and that's pretty important. You may have heard of some of the private for-profit colleges in the news lately for some pretty aggressive marketing and targeting of students and getting them enlisted and promising careers that they actually couldn't deliver on. So you want to be really careful with the pressure tactics and some of the sort of for-profit private schools. You really want to research those carefully. And then it just talks about the responsibilities of the student. I'll let you read those. It is good to see that, though. Students have the responsibility to arrange, if appropriate, for visits and interviews to colleges. I like very much that it says a student should be the sole author of his or her application. So parents, you want to resist that. We do have parents that do their child's applications. You want to resist doing that. Not helpful in the long run. Okay, I think I'm going to let Mrs. Escalzo fire you guys up with a big Twitter blah, blah, blah. I don't know how to use Twitter, so. She tells me that you can access it even if you don't have an account, so we kind of want you to try that. So this is Katie Lascalzo.
So we do have a Twitter account, which we just started. Did we start it this year? We haven't had it very long. So we're trying to gain followers. So if you guys have a Twitter account, if you want to get out your phones right now, and you're all going to follow us, or else. Just kidding. But our Twitter handle is at NPHS _, so like the little underline thing, guidance. At NPHS _guidance. And we do announcements. We put up inspirational quotes. We talk about different events coming up in college visits, and like today we tweeted about the information night to remind parents to come tonight and for conferences and that kind of thing. It comes in handy when you become a senior and you are applying to colleges. We announce a lot of deadlines for scholarships and applications and things like that. So now that you are all following us on Twitter, I'm going to take a picture of you guys. And I will post it on there so you'll become famous. So everybody wave. Wave, please. Yay. Okay, you guys over here. You guys are shy over there. Thank you. Okay. So real quick, I know we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a slide for this on the PowerPoint, but if you guys turn to the page that says ACT, the new ACT requirement. So I'm guessing most of you are aware that juniors this year will be taking the ACT in April. It's required now by the state. The short answer is that we just do what they say, and we have you guys take whatever required tests they tell us each year. The long answer of why you need to take it is because it's supposed to help with college and career readiness. When you get the results back, the results will tell you areas you need to work on so that you can become more college ready. So the ACT plus writing will be on Tuesday, April 28th, 2015. There is no fee. It's free because it's required. The good news is most of you guys would have taken this test anyway, so it's a free ACT exam that you would have had to pay between like 36 and 50 some bucks for, depending on if you did the writing. So yeah, with the writing, it'd be like 50 some bucks that you're saving by being required to take it this year. You don't have to get a minimum score, so there's no like passing grade or anything. You don't have to get 21 or anything like that. So there's 5 timed tests. It's all on paper and pencil: English, reading, math, science, and writing. Almost pretty much all 4-year colleges will use it as part of their admissions process, like Ms. Erickson was talking about. Sometimes community colleges will also use it. I don't know if any of you guys remember taking the plan in 10th grade. Anybody remember that? It's kind of like the ACT. That's kind of like the pre-ACT. How do you prepare for the ACT? If you guys do well, work hard and do well in your core classes, you should be just fine. Don't get too worked up about it. Another way you can prepare is just to know what to expect. It's a lot like the plan. Go in, you'll have a break in between 2 of the tests. Each test is between like 25 and 60 minutes, I think. We have free prep materials. One is on paper in the guidance office. Another one is on the ACT website. There's free practice questions. On Naviance, we have a Prep Me section. You guys can take free practice questions. On MCIS, all these links are on this page that you're looking at right now. And then if you want to pay to prepare, you can take community ed prep courses, but we suggest that that's a last resort for you, because we'd hate for you guys to pay for something that you can get with all these free resources. But again, we just really like to tell kids not to worry too much about the ACT. It's not, like Ms. Erickson was saying, it's like number 3 on the college admissions list of things that they're looking for. And they mostly want you to worry about the classes you're taking and doing well in school. So I think that's about all we wanted to say about the ACT. So I'll turn it over to Mr. B.
Thanks, Mrs. Scalzo. All right, we talked about colleges, and Ms. Erickson mentioned that college is college. Doesn't matter if it's a 4-year, 2-year. Just looking out there, if you have red on, please stand up. If you have red on anywhere, like wearing red, stand up, please. If you have red on, get up over there, you two. I count on you to show something here. All right, so roughly the people standing are, if everybody here represents like the graduates of the U.S. leaving to going off to looking for a job, the graduates of college, the people standing, you're like 21% out of the whole. Those of you, that's how many jobs out there you have to have a 4-year degree. Only 21% of the jobs through the year 2022 you absolutely need a 4-year degree for. So everybody sitting has jobs where you do not need a 4-year degree. Thanks, you can sit back down now. Okay, then if you have a blue, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so we talked about college, and that's one of the ones coming up here. So we can click on that in the back when you're ready. There we go. That's the one about there's a lot of jobs out there for you, and we'll do the next one here. And that's the stat. And the answer is no. So 21% of the current jobs require a 4-year degree. So that is what we're talking about. And one more thing I wanted to bring up before we finished off. Remember, all the information that we gave you, plus this will be on, I just realized it's going to be taped, or it is taped, so I got to move over. So anyway, it's going to be online, so you'll be able to watch this again if you want to. You know, grab the popcorn and sit down and watch it again. Or if you tell people you missed this, and they'll be like, well, don't worry, it's online, so just let them know that. One thing I want you to keep in mind as you're thinking about this, one of the biggest questions is asked for us is like, what college is good for this? What college is good for that? And what I tried to tell the student, and I'm kind of looking at this booklet here when I go over this on page 12. It's determine the criteria, choosing a college. They're like, what college is good for accounting, or what college is good for this? Well, what I told that student is that 57% of the students who start a 4-year degree finish it at the same school. They finish it within 6 years. Okay, so it's more of a question of not, finding what college is good in this and this. Pick a college that you're going to want to stay at for 4 years. Pick a college that's good for you, that you're going to enjoy being at. If you look around all the rooms in the high school, it has all the colleges where all the teachers went. There's a ton of colleges where teachers went. That's never really a question when you're getting interviewed. What school did you go to? It's more of, who are you as a person? What do you know? What can you offer our building? And so when you're thinking about a college, unless it's a really specific program, it's more important to think about, what do I like? What are my criteria? Do I want a big school, small school? Do I want a 2-year school, a 4-year? What's going to keep you there to finish whatever you started? That's a bigger question to answer than, you know, what's good at this or what's good at that, given that that program is at that school, which it's a good chance that it will be. And that brings up another, and by the way, when I told them that, the student's like, huh, never thought of it that way. And which really, if you get a teenager to even hint that you caused something to spark, that's an accomplishment. So that made my week. So almost my month, but definitely my week. And then speaking of, you know, what schools have different things, this book here, which we give to our seniors, and we like it so much, and there were some extras, we wanted to give it out early for the people that came to this. And if you didn't get one, by the way, I put some more out. But what's nice about this Choosing a College book is that in the back, it lists, you know, what programs are out there. So even if you're not sure of what you want to do, there's a whole bunch of programs listed to like look through and then find out what colleges have those programs. But like I said, ultimately, and then this describes the different colleges too, and these are all the schools in Minnesota, by the way. All the schools in Minnesota are in here in this book. But the bottom line is you pick the schools that are right for you, that you're going to complete versus, you know, any other decision. And we're looking forward to talking to the juniors coming up in the next 2 weeks in the media studies class that was alluded to. We're really looking forward to getting into the classrooms and helping the students kind of find out about themselves. It's always important to find out what you like, and then you kind of meander through to find out a place to get prepared to do what it is you found out you want to do. So with that said, I think we're going to close up the evening. I appreciate everyone coming, and have yourself a good evening.